Happy Monday. We are starting today The Wild Robot by Peter Brown. And it says on your slide that we're doing chapters 1 through 4. And yes, we are doing chapters 1 through 4. The chapters in Wild Robot are very short. So you will see that as I read this morning. This is a great story about friendship and imagination and a little bit of fantasy. So, The Wild Robot by Peter Brown. There's also a sequel to it. So once we read it, if you like it, you can read The Wild Robot Returns. Chapter 1 is called The Ocean. Our story begins on the ocean with wind and rain and thunder and lightning and waves. A hurricane roared and raged through the night, and in the middle of the chaos, a cargo ship was sinking down, down, down to the ocean floor. The ship left hundreds of crates floating on the surface, but as the hurricane thrashed and swirled and knocked them around, the crates also began sinking into the depths, one after the other. They were swallowed up by the waves until only 5 crates remained. By morning, the hurricane was gone. There were no clouds, no ships, no land in sight. There was only calm water and clear skies, and those 5 crates lazily bobbing along in ocean current. Days passed, and then a smudge of green appeared on the horizon. As the crates drifted closer, the soft green shape slowly sharpened into the hard edges of a wild rocky island. The first crate rode to shore on a tumbling, rumbling wave, and then crashed against the rocks with such force that the whole thing burst apart. Now, reader, what I haven't mentioned is that tightly packed inside each crate was a brand new robot. The cargo ship had been transporting hundreds of them before it was swept up in the storm. Now only 5 robots were left. Actually, only 4 were left, because when that first crate crashed against the rocks, the robot inside shattered to pieces. So sometimes the author actually talks to the reader when he's writing. So he changes points of view throughout the book. The same thing happened to the next crate. It crashed against the rocks and robot parts flew everywhere. Then it happened to the next crate and the next. Robot limbs and torsos were flung onto ledges. A robot head splashed into a tide pool. A robot foot skittered into the waves. And then came the last crate. It followed the same path as the others, but instead of crashing against the rocks, it sloshed against the remains of the first 4 crates. Soon more waves were heaving it up out of the water. It soared through the air, spinning and glistening, until it slammed down onto a tall shelf of rock. The crate was cracked and crumpled, but the robot inside was safe. So there's lots of pictures in this book, and you can kind of see that there's the crate on top of the rocks with the waves crashing. And now we're on chapter 2. See, I told you the chapter is really short, and it's called The Otters. Here's a picture of the otters. You might want to see that. Okay. The island's northern shore had become something of a robot gravesite. Scattered across the rocks were the broken bodies of 4 dead robots. They sparkled in the early morning light, and their sparkles caught the attention of some very curious creatures. A gang of sea otters was romping through the shallows when one of them noticed the sparkling objects. The otters all froze. They raised their noses to the wind, but they smelled only the sea. So they cautiously crept over the rocks to take a closer look. The gang slowly approached a robot torso. The biggest otter stuck out his paw, swatting the heavy thing, and quickly jumped back, but nothing happened. So they wriggled over to a robot hand. Another brave otter stuck out her paw and flipped the hand over. It made a lovely clinking sound on the rocks, and the otters squeaked with delight. They spread out and played with robot arms and legs and feet. More hands were flipped. One of the otters discovered a robot head in a tide pool, and they all dove in and took turns rolling it along the bottom. And then they spotted something else. Overlooking the gravesite was the one surviving crate. Its sides were scraped and dented, and a wide gash ran across its top. The otters scampered up the rocks and climbed onto the big box. 10 furry faces poked through the gash, eager to see what was inside. What they saw was another brand new robot. But this robot was different from the others. It was still in one piece, and it was surrounded by spongy packing foam. The otters reached through the gash and tore at the foam. It was so soft and squishy. They squeaked as they snatched at this fluffy stuff. Shreds of it floated away on the sea breeze, and in all the excitement, one of their paws accidentally slapped an important little button on the back of the robot's hand. Click! It took a while for the otters to realize that something was happening inside the crate, but a moment later, they heard it, a low whirring sound. Everyone stopped and stared, and then the robot opened her eyes. her eyes. So the robot is a girl. Chapter 3 is called The Robot. The robot's computer brain booted up. Her programs began coming online, and then, still packed in her crate, she automatically started to speak. I'm Roz. Hello, I am Rosam, Unit 7134, but you may call me Roz. While my robotic systems are activating, I will tell you about myself. Once fully activated, I will be able to move and communicate and learn. Simply give me a task and I will complete it. Over time, I will find better ways of completing my tasks. I will become a better robot when I am not needed. I will stay out of the way and keep myself in good working order. Thank you for your time. I am fully activated. Chapter 4. The Robot Hatches. As you might know, robots don't really feel emotions, not the way animals do, and yet, as she sat in her crumpled crate, Roz felt something like curiosity. She was curious about the warm ball of light shining down from above, so her computer brain went to work, and she identified the light. It was the sun. The robot felt her body absorbing the sun's energy. With each passing minute, she felt more awake. When her battery was good and full, Roz looked around and realized that she was packed inside a crate. She tried to move her arms, but they were restrained by cords. So she applied more force. The motors in her arms hummed a little louder, and the cord snapped. Then she lifted her hands and pulled apart the crate. Like a hatchling breaking from a shell, Roz climbed out into the world. And there she is coming out of the crate. And then we have chapter 5, the robot gravesite. So you're supposed to describe the island and the gravesite. So take a peek at chapter 5 before we read it tomorrow and see if you can find some descriptive words in chapter 5 to describe the robot gravesite. There was also some descriptions about the island and going up to the island, like in the ocean. So find some descriptive words that the author used to describe the crate going up to the island or the island itself and the gravesite. Have a great day.